I've seen a big shift in how the sales process works over the last few decades. The biggest shift has been in this idea of information asymmetry. It used to be that if you were a salesperson, one of the main things you were providing for your customer was information. You were the expert. You were the person who was knowledgeable. And often you were the only way the customer could get that information. These days with the internet, information is everywhere. It's really, truly a commodity. You know, no matter what you're trying to sell me, I can pull out my smartphone and say, okay, Google, and get a ton of information. Because of that, the role of the salesperson has really shifted, and at least for the ones that are successful. It's no longer about trying to beat the customer over the head with your knowledge. It really is about being a consultant and about saying, hey, I can provide you some information. There's also a bunch of information out there. My role as your salesperson is to help guide you through this process, is to really be an advisor, right? And that's a term that gets thrown around a lot, be a trusted advisor. If you really think what an advisor is not somebody who gives the information. An advisor is somebody who helps you process that information and goes, hey, this is something that's important to look at. This maybe isn't as important as you might think. You know, hey, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, tell me how you're feeling about this, and let me help you work through that as well. And again, any sales professional who understands that is being really successful right now. And unfortunately, there's a lot that aren't understanding that, and they're still just trying to be the conveyor of knowledge, and they're failing because, again, I can get that anywhere else. You're not providing value for me if you're just giving me information. You have to let me or help me process that. And that's really, I think, the biggest shift I've seen. A lot of times financial professionals ask me, what are the minimums that I need to do if I'm going to be using social media, if I'm going to use digital communication? And not often negatively, because they're busy. They've got a lot of things to do. And so if I come in and say, hey, we really got to look at your social media presence, we have to look at your digital communication, they just look at that as one more thing to do and go, oh, okay, I'm out. So when we look at what the minimum is, you know, what's the bare minimum? The first is actually a mindset shift. And that mindset is, I have to have some sort of presence. And I have to be very honest with myself about what that presence is. I often tell advisors to look in the mirror, right? Look in the mirror and go, if I didn't know me and I was just looking me up online, what would I find? And how would I respond to that? I've found that many successful professionals, people that have been in the business world 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you look at their online presence and none of it comes through. They look horrible. What they don't realize is that we're vetting people online now. And so the first exposure I probably have to that professional, if I'm a prospective client, is their digital presence. So you have to make sure that at a minimum, you've got that presence. If I Google your name, if I Google who you are, your online presence, you're going to have some websites, you're going to have some social media sites come up pretty quick. And again, I'm going to decide whether or not I engage with you at all based on that. So at a bare minimum, you have to make sure you look good. Social media and digital communication has a number of different benefits for financial professionals. One of the biggest benefits is that it leverages your ability to communicate with a wide number of people. It used to be that if all you could do is call people on the phone or maybe send them a letter, that's very hard to leverage your time and your knowledge and your attention. What's great about social media is it does two things. It allows you to play defense, which I think is important, and that's the idea of creating a presence. And creating a presence that you share the message you want to share about not just your features, but your benefits. You know, so often financial professionals these days feel stymied because, you know, what is the differentiator between what they do and what the person down the road does? The biggest differentiator often is themselves, is who they are, their approach, their passion, their experience. And so social media gives some very powerful and accessible ways to share that message. But also it allows them to play what I call offense, without being offensive, of course. But playing offense is the idea of putting information out there, using tools like LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or any of the other myriad platforms to actually share content with a wide range of people in minutes a day. If you think about how long it takes to do a status update on LinkedIn, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, but then that can be pushed out to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And a lot of times financial professionals go, well, if I do that and they don't call me right away, what's the value? What's the point of that? The value is in staying top of mind. I think one of the best things that social media does right now for professionals is it just keeps you on the radar of your network, right? We've all heard of companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, right? They're not these up-and-comers, but they spend millions of dollars a year. Millions. Why? Because they want to make sure that when we get thirsty, when we get hungry, we go, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. It's top of mind. And so what financial professionals can do is actually use social media to stay top of mind with their network, so that when somebody does go, gosh, I got a question about my IRA, or, geez, what am I going to do with this inheritance I just got? It's not, hey, I'm going to go just pick somebody out of Google and call them. It's, hey, you know what? Let's go and call Ed, because I know he deals with this stuff, and maybe he'll be able to point us in the right direction. Those are some of the really nice benefits of using social. So even though the benefits aren't immediate and aren't direct, they're there and they're very powerful.